Have you ever heard of a business idea that seemed so ridiculous yet surprisingly worked? Or perhaps it didn't? In the vast world of entrepreneurship, ideas that may appear stupid to some might strike others as innovative or even groundbreaking. Yet there are those business concepts that have etched their names in history for their unconventional, seemingly impractical nature. They've spurred chuckles, raised eyebrows, and sometimes even turned the tables on their skeptics. Let's dive into 12 examples of such business ideas. Let's start with the pet rock from 1975. An idea so brilliantly simple it's almost genius. Gary Dahl sold smooth rocks as pets, complete with a training manual. While it might seem ludicrous to think of a rock as a pet, this quirky concept captured the public's imagination for a short while, proving that sometimes the most unconventional ideas can spark interest. Next up, we have the Snuggie, a product that made its debut in 2008. It's essentially a blanket with sleeves, but it was marketed as a revolutionary product. Through the magic of infomercials and a dash of humor, the Snuggie managed to wrap itself around the hearts of many, despite being essentially a backwards robe. It's an excellent example of how clever marketing can elevate a seemingly silly idea into a product that resonates with consumers. Interestingly, both of these ideas managed to gain some level of popularity. Moving on, we have the iSmell and the Hula chair. Now, imagine a device that connects to your computer and emits scents corresponding to websites. Sounds fascinating, doesn't it? Well, in 2001, that's exactly what the iSmell aimed to do. The idea was to add another layer of interactivity to our online experiences. But alas, the world wasn't ready for such olfactory innovation, and it failed to gain any real traction. Then we have the Hula chair, a product that came into existence in 2007. The Hula chair was designed to help people lose weight with a built-in hula hoop that encouraged movement while sitting. An interesting concept, perhaps, but practicality was a different story. The idea of combining an office chair with a hula hoop exercise machine proved too unconventional, and like the iSmell, the Hula chair also failed to catch on. Unfortunately, neither of these ideas managed to gain traction. Next, we have the Juicero and Bic for Her. Let's begin with Juicero, a high-priced juicer launched in 2016 that squeezed juice from pre-packaged packs. You'd think it's a smart idea until users realized they could achieve the same result by squeezing the packs with their hands. The machine thus became redundant, and the company had to close its doors the very next year. Now, let's talk about Bic for Her. In 2012, Bic decided to launch pens specifically for women. These pens, identical to regular ones but with a feminine color scheme, were criticized for perpetuating gender stereotypes and being simply unnecessary. Consumers didn't appreciate the perceived insult to their intelligence, and the product quickly fell out of favor. What these examples show us is that not every innovative idea is a good one. Sometimes they can be too innovative for their own good. These ideas were widely criticized and ultimately failed. Now, let's talk about Twitter Peak and Segway. In the late 2000s, a peculiar device called the Twitter Peak came into existence. Its sole purpose was to tweet. Yes, you heard that right. In an era when smartphones were already gaining momentum, this device offered nothing but tweets. As you might imagine, it quickly became a relic, buried in the annals of tech history due to its limited functionality. Now, onto the Segway. Launched in 2001, it was hyped as the transportation of the future. A two-wheeled, self-balancing personal transporter, it promised to revolutionize how we move. But alas, the Segway never really got off the ground. The high price tag and overestimated market potential led to its downfall. These two instances remind us that not all that glitters is gold. Despite the hype, these ideas did not live up to their expectations. Next up, Google Glass and New Coke. Let's start with Google Glass. Launched in 2013, this wearable tech promised to bring the digital world right before our eyes. However, it was met with privacy concerns and a social awkwardness that left users wary. Not to mention the high price point didn't help its case. Ultimately, Google Glass was discontinued for consumer use, a clear case of a great idea that failed to connect with its intended audience. Now, onto New Coke. In 1985, Coca-Cola decided to reformulate their classic soda. This new version was intended to reinvigorate the brand and attract more consumers. However, it resulted in a public outcry. Loyal customers demanded the return of the original formula, leading Coca-Cola to swiftly bring back the classic Coke. These are examples of major companies making missteps in their product development. Lastly, we have QR code gravestones and Airbnb for dogs. QR code gravestones, a rather unconventional proposition, emerged in 2011. Companies suggested the idea of embedding QR codes on gravestones, enabling visitors to scan the code and access the life stories of the deceased. While technology and death are not strangers, this concept was deemed insensitive and faced considerable backlash. On another note, we have Airbnb for dogs, also known as DogBnB. It's quite simple. A pet sitting service mimicking the popular home-sharing platform, Airbnb. The idea, in theory, sounds rather appealing, doesn't it? Your furry friend enjoying a cozy home instead of a potentially cold kennel. However, the complex nature of caring for pets, especially in unfamiliar environments, has led to significant challenges and scrutiny for this business idea. These ideas faced criticism and challenges due to their sensitive and complex nature. So there you have it, 12 business ideas that seemed ridiculous. From rocks sold as pets to a device solely for tweeting, we've seen that the world of business can be wildly unpredictable. And while some of these ventures may have had us chuckling or scratching our heads, it's crucial to remember that the success or failure of a business idea isn't determined solely by its novelty or seeming absurdity. Each of these ideas, regardless of their practicality, emerged from a spark of creativity. They were born from a willingness to push boundaries, to try something new. And isn't that, after all, the essence of innovation? But as we've seen, innovation alone isn't enough. Timing, market demand, and execution also play critical roles. The pet rock, for instance, caught on because it hit just the right note of silliness at just the right time. On the other hand, the Segway, while technologically impressive, failed to meet the overly optimistic expectations of its inventors. So, as we wrap up, let's tip our hats to these brave entrepreneurs. They dared to think differently, to take risks, and in doing so, they provided us with valuable lessons about the unpredictable nature of business. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel. We appreciate your support.